Welcome to the Socially Unfiltered podcast,
where we'll be taking you along for our deep dives and doom scrolls through social media, entrepreneurship, and pop culture.
We're your hosts, Lex and Veronica, and together we're looking at everything through an unfiltered lens on the things that shape our everyday lives and society.
So grab a drink and get ready to explore the uncharted territories of online trends, share candid conversations, and uncover the stories behind the headlines.
This is the Socially Unfiltered podcast.
Oh my god, dude, my contacts were so screwed up today that I couldn't see out of my eyes. Like, I was driving Benny to his grooming appointment and I was like, something's wrong. Don't you hate when you put them in like the wrong way?
Yeah, I do. Or there's always like a fuzz.
Yes, that's how it felt. Like, it felt like just like on my left eye something was wrong.
I also get concealer on my contacts like very often. Like
Oh,
when
yeah,
I'm
I
putting it
remember
under
when you
my
did
eye.
it. Was it at the shoot or something? You're like, I can't
Probably.
see.
I don't know. Guess I need to work on my hand-eye coordination.
Yep. Well, howdy. Howdy, y'all. Today we're learning to build your socials from scratch.
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to talk in Southern accents the whole time. Surprise! We're doing a little role-playing today.
Yep. This is a long-awaited episode.
Mm-hmm.
Something we feel people need to know about before they just go on and start posting to social media.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have the foundation.
Mm-hmm. It's also like weirdly become relevant in my life because I started working with my old client to rebrand her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I've never done this before with somebody. So it's like we're starting over, but like there's already like a current audience there. It's like a very weird situation, but we're just like really rebranding like everything about her business. So it's been fun to pull a lot of these things into that process.
Yeah, I feel like this is perfect for you right now because it's what you're doing and it's like fresh on your mind. So that's perfect.
It's literally a checklist for me.
I did it last year with the skincare brand, but I didn't really I guess I wasn't a part of like the branding aspect of it, but I was a part of building the socials from scratch. So that was like a recent experience for me too. So yeah, we'll get into all of the things that you need to build a social media page when you're just starting out, or if you already have a business and you're wanting to like start something new or even like a brand new page, sister page, whatever. We'll let you in on the tea of how to do that.
We're going to spill it all.
My lips are so sunburnt today, so.
Well, hopefully you have some chapstick on.
Yeah, it's going to annoy me when I'm trying to yap, but it's fine.
We can't have anything hindering our yapping.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. Literally day 2 of my vacation, they looked like I got free filla. I was like,
I was going to say, they like swell up when they're sunburned like that. So it probably was like.
swelling up. I will never forget when we were in the Dominican and that happened to me and Mark asked if I went and got filler. I'm like, yeah, I just went down the street at all
found a random place.
Found an injector while you were sleeping and went at it.
And got a little plump on my lips.
Anyways.
That's really funny. Well, I'm sorry about your lips. Hopefully it won't hinder our yapping too much.
Last year was poison ivy. This week, last week it was poison ivy. This week it's still that, but also my lips.
When it rains, it pours. If it's not one thing, it's the next.
Yeah, it's just not anything new.
All I have to complain about is the spray tan on my hands. Not looking too great.
From the spray you got. That's so annoying. Did they not put a ton of lotion on your hands?
They did, but I think so. My feet are kind of bad too. And I think what happened was like when she was going, like it all just like settled on my feet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Did she not coat your feet though, like a ton in lotion?
Not really.
Oh yeah, like you notice my mom put so much on the hands.
Yeah, no, this is like not even. I mean, I like the color of it, but like the comparison and like the detail of it is way different. And like, I don't know. It's not as good as when your mom did it, but I'll take it for
Oh,
being 10 minutes away from my house. But yeah, they like literally just well, they didn't just open, they just moved locations and the new location is like 10 minutes from my house.
yeah. Mhm.
So that was nice that they came like highly recommended. But yeah, I don't think it's bad by any means. I just like look at this hand. She's a
Oh,
little
yeah.
yeah. She's a little all over the place, looking a little dirty around my fingers and toes, but that's okay. But I told her I was like this
It's
isn't really
damn
like
dirty.
yeah, I was like this isn't like for an event or anything. I was just like bored. So it's like not the end of the world, but
Oh my god, Benny is snoring so fucking loud. Sorry if anyone can hear that. He's like wiped.
Benny, he had a big day getting groomed.
Yeah, he did. Just because he doesn't like his ears dried. I was like, no.
You're like, yeah, he doesn't really like anything done to his ears, but I force him to.
His poor ears. Poor ears. That's the thing
Poor
in itself.
ears. We are
Anyway.
poison ivy. Benny's ears. We'll catch a break eventually.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into
Anyway,
it. Lots
ready.
to do for setup.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I
A
think the
lot.
first off, you need a handle.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure that nobody has the handle, but also that
Mm-hmm.
nobody has the domain or have
Mm-hmm.
it trademarked because that can put you in a tiff
Mm-hmm.
if you.
Yeah. There's like a list of things that I always go. I mean, not that I do this like super often, but like Instagram, TikTok, the website, email, like everything. Like if they can't all match, like I lose my mind. I hate when they
Yeah,
don't all match.
I know, me too. Which is kind of annoying for me because with my handle, there's
Mhm.
no like, I have my website domain, I have like the trademark, whatever. But on TikTok, somebody
Mhm.
has socials by V. And so I have
Mhm.
to be socials by V underscore. And nothing makes me angrier because the person doesn't post. It's a random flower as a profile picture. They don't
Ugh,
have any activity. I can't message them because you have to follow each other back. And
that's
I've
so
reported it to
annoying.
TikTok. I'm like, here's my trademark. And they're like, yeah, if they had content, like we could take it down. But because they have no content in anything, they're like they're not really infringing on your trademark because they're not posting as socials by V. And I'm like,
They just have the account.
what was the point of me even doing this trademark and spending all that money?
Mhm.
So I'm just not renewing that because it's
Mhm.
stupid. Like, so yeah, that's annoying. Sometimes you can't help it if you have
Right.
other websites that aren't taken, but then the one that's like TikTok, it's like
Mhm.
kind of
If it's
sucks.
like a handle or something, I mean, I think your website and stuff is more important because handles you can like add the underscores or whatever. Like Shelby, like the girl that's doing the rebrand right now,
Mhm.
her new business name is Dollhouse, and that handle is 100% taken. Like it's
Yeah.
been taken for literally ever, but she's just doing like underscore. We haven't officially decided yet. It's either going to be underscore Michigan or underscore studios. But like there's always ways like you can like add on the extra word or something. But yeah, she even reached out to the person who has Dollhouse and offered to pay them for it. And the
Mhm.
same thing, like it's just like not active. She was like, I even tried going through like the followers that it has and like seeing if
Mhm.
anybody knows who it is. But yeah, super annoying. But yeah, definitely ways around it. I mean, again, I think email and website are like the most important because you can't add like underscore or anything to them, but handles and stuff, yeah, can be
Right.
manipulated. But yeah, definitely need to start with a handle and recommend going through that list and just making sure it's available to the best that it can be across every platform.
Yep.
Once you know what you're naming your profile, you actually have to start your profile. So starting a new Instagram. And that's where like I always go like start with the email so that you can make the new Instagram like with the new email and not like have it linked to a different email. So I always start with like the email so that it can be the login for everything.
Mhm.
And then you actually create your account and you have to decide if you're going to be a business or a creator. And we have a previous episode talking about like the biggest differences between them. I think everybody benefits in the beginning, at least, being a creator page because you just have access to
Mhm.
everything. Like I know there's, you know, copyright and stuff. Like you shouldn't technically use like the trending audios if you're a business page. And there's just a lot of limitations with that. So I think until you're like a big enough brand that somebody would find it worth suing you over, you're fine to be the creator page.
Also, if you're not trying to sell products, how you can like link products on
Right.
Instagram. Like one of my clients has to be a business account because she links her products to be able to shop
Mm,
via Instagram. So that's the difference too. It's
good
like if you're
call.
a service provider or a product provider, you kind of have to choose, but it does
Mhm.
suck because like we can't use a lot of the audios
Right.
because she's a business account. So
Mhm.
unless you like screen record it and whatever, but it's like I'm like,
Technically, you're not even supposed
you're
to
not
do that
supposed
either, I don't think, or, like, Instagram doesn't like it, but yeah, good call. I honestly didn't even think about that because none of my clients do,
to. Mhm.
like, Instagram Shop or anything, so it's not even something that, like, is on my radar
Mhm.
99% of the time.
Yeah, only one of my clients is like that because
Mhm.
she sells stuff.
Mhm.
So you have to take that into account if you're going to be physically selling things.
Right, and we, again, go over a lot of this, like, in that other episode, but yeah, you get, like, different, like, profile options, like, you can add an address, you can hit, like, the directions button, you can do, like, an inquiry form. There's, like, a lot of different options when you're choosing the type of profile, but always recommend taking advantage of every built-in feature that Instagram gives you, so, like, if you do the business, put your address in there, like, especially if you have the brick and mortar store. Obviously, make sure you're using your contacts like email and everything on there. Lots of different options between those two different accounts. But then once you do have your account set up and choose what you want to do, we can move on to your bio, which I think is always fun to kind of start from scratch.
Yeah, and your bio, I feel like is I always find it the hardest because I'm like, there's so much I want to fit into here that's like searchable and like for
Mhm.
SEO and to make it as blatantly clear and like
Mhm.
easy for people to digest to know what you do, who you are, who you're helping. So I feel like the easiest way is like who you are, what you do, and who you help is like the
Mhm.
three things I try to think about when I'm making a bio. It's like I guess we
Mhm.
could just give an example of like a restaurant. Like say
Mhm.
a restaurant in Florida. You could be like seafood restaurant in Florida. I don't even know. That's not a good example.
Well, I was gonna say I literally
Cut that
I
out. That
just
wasn't a good example.
I just no, it's hard to do it off the top of your head. What I always do is I'll write it in Google Docs and use like the
Yeah.
character count because you get up to 180 characters. But I literally just redid Shelby's today. And so what we did was the first line is well, actually, the name section. I hope she literally doesn't care if I'm like saying all this because it'll be launched by the time this comes out. But her name section is Dollhouse, and then in parentheses we put formerly known as Lash Dolls because we didn't want anybody to like land on the page and not realize like it's the same business. But then the first line we put home of all things beauty, so that's kind of like a play on the fact that it's house,
Mm-hmm.
like home, and there's like a lot of like again rebranding but also like revamping their services. So like before they just did lashes, waxing, and facials, and now they're adding in like spray tanning, microblading, stuff like that. So we were like, okay, how do we take this from being a line about just lashes to like all of the things that you can find here? So we always start with like that like fun catchy line of like, you know, this is who we are, this is what we do. And then in hers we actually listed out some of the services for SEO purposes. So like it
Mm-hmm.
says lashes, lift and tints, facials, waxing. We're going to add in the rest of the stuff later. And then we put voted top 5 in Detroit because they're routinely voted the top 5 in the Detroit area. So we were like, let's put
Mm-hmm.
this like little smidge of like social proof almost, or just kind
Yes.
of like just like I don't want to say asserting your authority, but like just showing that we're, you know, of value to the community. And then this again is a little bit different, but we have a pin emoji and it just says the city that it's in because with the new studio, they're moving cities. So we were like, let's just put where the new one is located. And then we did the call to action of open the door to Dollhouse with like an arrow pointing down. So, like, not technically word for word saying like,
Who you are, who
who
you
you
help.
are.
Yeah.
Yes, like, it's
But you
not
are
like
hitting all of those things.
yes, like,
Yeah, you don't
in
have to be like, we
one
are this and we are helping you do this. Like
right.
you don't have to do that. It's but that's perfect. It gives people an overview of who you are, what you
Mhm,
do, who you help, and like
mhm,
that brand authority of like when you're voted. Like
mhm,
the Clam does I have the same thing. That's like
mhm.
13-time best of winner, Cape Cod
Yeah,
Life. I have best of Cape Cod Magazine. Like I feel like that
mhm,
helps people see that you are like qualified to be posting what you do, but even
Right.
on the name now, like, you are allowed to have a way longer name. So the
Mhm.
things that you used to put in your bio, that's like, say the clan man, for example, like me putting like fish market and wholesaler on Cape Cod.
Mhm.
I don't have to do that anymore because in the
Mhm.
name it just says the clan man, a dash fish market dash wholesaler, and then the
Mhm.
actual name is the clan man Falmouth. So it's like kind of prioritize your area and how many characters you get to put like
Mhm.
important shit that matters in there instead of like wasting that space and not putting it into the name.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what we were doing because we originally had the formerly known as Lash Dolls, like, in the bio, and I was like, "Honestly, it kind of doesn't make sense for us to take up 35 characters with
Yeah,
that when we can put it in the name, and it's not gonna be there forever." Like, we just wanted it for this, like, transition time because the way that Instagram works is like for a while after you change your handle, like somebody can still type in lash dolls and it'll still pull up that page, like even though the handle's changed. So we were like, we just didn't want anybody to get confused. And obviously, like it wasn't worth taking the space in the bio for stuff that will stay there more permanently.
right.
And I mean, even after like, we feel like it's time to take the formerly known as out of the name. Like there's even stuff from the bio, like the voted top five in Detroit. Like we can move that to the name because yeah, exactly like you said, your name can be way longer now. Like it used to not be able to be
Mhm.
as long as it is now. I don't even remember off the top of my head how
Yeah,
long it can be, but
and whatever's in your name can be searchable. Like if it was
mhm.
dollhouse, you could put all things beauty or like beauty
Yep.
salon in
Mhm.
blank. So then when
Yep.
people are searching that, you'll pop up because it's in your
Mhm.
name. But the one thing I feel like people are always doing is putting fancy fonts in their names, in their
Don't.
bios. I can't stand
Illegal.
it.
Jail.
Stop putting fancy fonts because you won't be searchable. There will be no
Mhm.
SEO when you have all these
Yes.
fancy fonts in your names and in your bios. Like, it might look cute,
Mhm.
but please stop doing that. Don't
Please,
do
like,
that.
I'm begging. I honestly like, I don't even mind that much, and I do it with one of my clients, I use the, like, all caps, like, bold font a lot, but only in their captions,
Yeah.
and it's not so much on stuff that, I never really do it on words that people would be searching. I don't really think, like, your captions are, like, really that searchable. Like, I
Yeah.
think your page just kind of, like, encapsulates a certain vibe that Instagram kind of picks up on, but yeah, no, we, definitely do not do that in the bio of any
Mhm.
account because that's just a hard no. Because yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize, like, just because it looks like font, like, those font characters are basically like emojis, for lack
Mhm.
of better terms. Like, they're not registered as literal letters to Instagram. They're registered as, like,
Yeah.
icons, basically. So,
Yep.
yeah, they're not searchable. They look super cute, but do not do it. And I think honestly too, I don't know. I just don't think they're needed in bios, like, whatsoever, ever.
Neither. And on TikTok, I guess, yeah, I guess this whole time we are talking about Instagram, but on TikTok, like,
Yeah.
it's pretty similar to your bio. I think you get less characters on TikTok, and you can't put a link in your bio until you hit a certain number of followers.
Mhm.
So you have to be like pretty selective with what you put in your bio. Yeah, like TikTok gives you 80 characters. So it's a lot less
That's
than
so little. I never
Instagram.
realized that.
Yeah, that's why ours, like for our podcast, is deep dives plus doom scrolls with dash zero filter new episodes every Monday. And like that's pretty much all we can put because it's 80 characters. So you have to keep it
Right.
very short and sweet on TikTok. Also, we hit 600 followers. Yay.
Slay.
But yeah, TikTok is a little bit different where you have to hit a certain number of followers and you can't really change your like name on there. You just have your handle and then
Mhm.
well, we do have the name. It's like the V plus Lex socially unfiltered pod.
Mhm.
So that is searchable. Like your
Yeah.
name is searchable, your handle is searchable, the captions are searchable. If people are looking for something specific, they can type in something that's
Mhm.
long. So that's why they do say like you could make your captions really long and like put
Mhm.
a bunch of hashtags and all these things to be searchable on
Mhm.
TikTok.
And this might be like a super subjective statement to make, but I also like TikTok just has way better search features. Like this doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about, but like I feel like more like mindful almost of like words and stuff that I'm putting on videos like on
Same.
TikTok. Not that I'm not on Instagram, but I don't know. I just always look at Instagram as like it's your home base. Like, yes, people might be like searching and finding you for the first time there,
Mhm.
but also the way that I approach Instagram for a lot of my clients and especially for myself is like that's where I don't want to say funnel people to because it's not like I'm putting them into like a sales funnel or anything, but like I always tell people to go to Instagram because it's just an easier platform to like interact
Talk.
through. But
Yeah.
I think on TikTok, like I've searched for something and I land on a video and I'm like, how the fuck did it give me this result? And then I'm like looking at the comments and there's one comment that says the word that I searched. I'm like, oh, like that's a
Yeah.
crazy search like result to bring up
Yeah.
this video. And Instagram just isn't like that, I don't think. I do think they're moving more towards that though, because every time I go to search something on Instagram, I feel like it looks different or like there's more results when you search. Like you used to not be able to like search
Reels
audio. Wait,
or
search
audio.
what?
Like reels or audios or anything. Like it
Right.
was just all meshed into one. Now, like when you do search, you can like scroll over to the reels tab. You can scroll
Yes.
over to the audio tab. So it's getting better.
Mhm.
It's still not, I don't think
As
what
good.
TikTok is, how good of a
Mhm.
search engine TikTok is. And whenever I'm looking for
Right.
something, I always go to TikTok. So they
Mhm.
have to, I think, tweak things still, but they're
Mhm.
definitely copying them for sure because they see
For
that
sure.
people are going to that for the search
Mhm.
engine.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of like again, completely unrelated statement, but just I think
Yeah.
that's why it like helps to reinforce our statement that what goes in your name section and in your bio on Instagram is like one of the most important fields that you'll be filling out because that is what brings up a lot of people in
Mhm.
the searches. Like if you just search, Charleston photographer, like if you don't have the words Charleston photographer either in your name or in your bio, you most likely are not going to come up because there's going to be 30 other people that do have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just important to be super mindful of that. And again, it's a very short amount of space that you get. So I always recommend just like brain dump in a Google Doc and then literally like condense it from there, make it look cute, and then use the word count feature on there so that you're not like physically in Instagram, like typing, like, oh, wow, this is too long. Let me backspace. And then
Mhm.
you just get annoyed and put your phone down.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
So highly recommend that.
Yeah, me too.
But speaking of searching and stuff, the hashtags that you're using on Instagram, I think are important but not the most important of your content. Just while we're talking about kind of like SEO features and stuff,
Mhm.
um, we think there's been just an evolution of hashtags. I mean, there's always been talk around it. Like, do you use 30? Do you use 3 to 5? Do you put them in the caption? Do you put them in the comments? Do you do this? Do
Mhm.
you do that? And I think the way that we both look at hashtags is it's an advantage to have your hashtags on your post because it is another way that somebody could find you. But I
Mhm.
think what you're writing in your caption is more important than the hashtags that you're using, slightly for SEO, but also again, like kind of looking at using Instagram as like your home base in that way. Like it's a bonus if somebody searches and finds you on Instagram, but most of the time you're talking to an already existing audience on Instagram. So it's like to me, it's more important spending the time of what you're saying to your audience via your caption rather than spending 30 minutes coming up with 30 brand new hashtags and oh my god, you can't use the same ones twice in a row or Instagram will think you're a bot. Like
Mhm.
hashtags should be like the least of your worries when you're making a post on Instagram.
Yeah, and same with TikTok. Like, I think the caption
Mhm.
is always the most important and will get like, it's just more searchable. Like, I just think the
Mhm.
caption is the important part, but I also think the video and or the picture or the quality
Right.
of your content is what matters the most. Like, hashtags are there to support you. They're not there to, like,
Shouldn't
push your
rely on
con yeah,
them.
you don't rely on hashtags to get you anywhere. Like, if your post
Mhm.
sucks, it's gonna suck regardless if you have the best 10 hashtags out there or versus Instagram promoting it or not. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what fucking hashtag you use. If your content sucks, and no hashtag's gonna
Mhm.
save it, unfortunately. But yeah, a lot of people rely on things or hacks or like these are the 5 hashtags you need to use, or like put
Mhm.
them in the caption, put them in the comments. So many people say things like that, and it's like focus on your content, focus on your copywriting. Those things will make you successful, not hashtags.
Yes. Another little hashtag thing that just kind of goes along with building a socials from scratch. Our angels agree. Thumbs up. They're
Period.
like, "Yes, bitch," period. Um, I personally like doing this. I don't really know if it's something that, like, every single person does or cares about, but I always give my clients a branded hashtag and use it in almost every single post that they make, whether
Mhm.
that's literally just hashtag their business name or, like,
Yeah,
hashtag their motto or, like, hashtag their slogan, whatever, like, hashtag, business Charleston, whatever. Like, I always give my clients a branded hashtag that 99% of the time is the first hashtag in the group of hashtags that I'm using. And I think that just is super helpful to, one, like, give Instagram, like, once Instagram has a certain amount of posts with a certain hashtag, you'll get, like, your own group when somebody searches it. But I also think it's really helpful, like, if somebody does come across your post, like, on the explore page or whatever, if it's the first hashtag that they see, like, hopefully it kind of entices them to click on it, and then they're immediately looking at all of your posts.
yeah.
So again, I don't know if that's something that, like, a lot of other people prioritize, but I always give my clients a branded hashtag, and it's usually the first one that I use on their posts.
I do that too. Even for our podcast, the first hashtag is
Mhm.
always socially unfiltered pod. Like it's always the same.
Mhm.
So I agree. I always do that too.
Slay. Love that.
Mhm.
Um, Moving down the
Fun.
profile, we will take a pit stop at highlights. I have, like, such a love for highlights. I feel like I don't get to do them as often as I like to, but I literally just got done revamping Shelby's and was like, "Oh my god, I, like, forgot how fun this is." Like, I
Mhm.
always start in Google Docs and, like, brain dump all of the different highlights I wanna have and then, like, brain dump, like, all the things that are gonna go in them, but it obviously depends on you and your business. Like, a service versus based business is obviously going to have a very different version of their highlights. But I think there's, like, some core ones that are always important to have in there. Like, I think one of the best things you can do is put your business story or your brand story, like, into a
Mhm.
highlight. Even if it's not, like, super crazy in depth, like, explaining everything, just, maybe showing how you got to where you are, I don't know, say you're a yoga studio, like, talk about the different, like, certifications that you have, the build out of your building, like, just telling your brand story from quote start to finish. Again, it doesn't have to be,
Mhm.
like, anything super crazy. Like, the one we just did for Shelby is literally 2 slides long. And the first one is showing, like, this was our first studio, this was our second studio, and now this is our forever home. And then a little blurb just being like, this started as a one woman show in a suite rental, and now we've evolved into what we are today. And I think that's important just to have, like, for sure on there, because you never know what's going to pull at somebody's heartstrings or what part of your story they're going to relate to. So I think that's always a good one to have on there.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I think it's also important if you have a team, like if you have employees or even just for yourself, having a highlight that shows who everybody is. I feel like I keep relating this back to Shelby's stuff, but it's literally, like, so. I also want to say we started talking about doing this episode before I even started doing any of this with Shelby. This was not on purpose, but um one of, like, with hers, we have each girl gets their own individual slide, and it's a little bit about them, like their zodiac sign, because that's just, like, some fun stuff that they're into, their favorite Spotify playlist, and then obviously, like, the services that they specialize in, and then a picture of them. So even just something quick like that, just kind of introducing your team. What else? Your story, your team.
Your
Oh, if you're,
services could, like, go
yeah.
in there too. Like, say all those girls, they do something different, like, it could be, like,
Mhm.
lashes and hair
Mhm.
and waxing, and all those highlights get their own, like, unique things. So you can look at, like, before and afters in there, you can look at
Mhm.
you could make one with testimonials and just, like, throw a ton of testimonials on there, so it's a highlight of, like, what people are saying and their before and
Mhm.
afters. Like, I think those are the top that people, like, really look for, like, who you are, what are you doing, who works there, and then
Mhm.
just, like, the results, or, like, the before and afters, what you offer.
Mhm.
And then you could do, like, some fun ones, like a little behind the scenes of
Oh,
just,
yeah,
like,
love a
random
BTS.
random stuff, like your
Mhm.
I don't know, your days off, your life, like, fun
Mhm.
things that aren't, like, all business.
Mhm.
You could do a frequently asked questions,
Ooh,
just
that's a good
like
one.
things that people are always asking you. You could just have that in a highlight, throw it up, or have like a story up where you're like, ask us anything, and then make those
Mhm.
a highlight. So then anytime people have a question, you can kind of like refer back to that instead of having to repeat yourself multiple times. But I feel like
Yep.
those are like the top that you really need to have on the highlight so people can answer all of the questions basically. But there will be
Mm.
people that still reach out to you, and even though you have everything in a highlight, they will
For
reach
sure.
out. Like people reach out for packages all the time and
Yes.
asking all these questions.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
then there's the people who will literally spend an hour, like, combing through every part of your profile, and they'll answer their
like
own
us.
questions when they see that. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's important to have that on there. But yeah, definitely, like, if you're a service business, having one that just explains all of your services, testimonials, I think is such a good one. Reviews, even, like, even if it's not, like, a client on there, like, telling their experience, like, even just
Yeah.
screenshots of your Google reviews or, like, things that clients have said to you.
Mhm.
The behind the scenes I think is so good too, especially for like us, like in our industry, not like you and I specifically, but
Mhm.
I think behind the scenes is always so fun. And I mean, even with Shelby's stuff, like right now we haven't made it yet because it's not done, but we will have a behind the scenes showing her building this new studio, like from start to finish. And it's been like really fun to kind of like keep different pieces of content
Mhm.
that she sends me and be like, okay, that's going on the highlights. Like now when you click through, it like starts as, an empty shell of a building. And then it's like her with a hard hat on and like literally fucking in there bulldozing stuff. And I think
Mhm.
people will love to see that. So yeah, definitely some behind the scenes. I was looking at my highlights just to see if I could like jog any memories, but like I think we both have one for the podcast. So like if you not that everybody does that, but if you do anything like that, like anything that pertains to your business, like I know I am just thinking of something random, like if you run a book club, even if you're not like a book-based business, like if it's something that just kind of showcases a part of you, um, I think that's good to have on there. And I also have one for like free resources. So like if you have like any freebies or anything that people can
Mhm.
download from you, that's good to have on there. And again, this is all so different, like depending
Yeah.
on what the business is or what you do. But yeah, I think highlights to me are like that like shiny end caps like in Target. Like they're the important things that they put at the end of the aisle
Mhm.
that they want you to see like as soon as you walk in. Yeah, just think of like, what would people ask you? Oh, who are you? What do you do? Okay, great. Oh, what do you offer? Okay, here are my services. If you have products,
Mhm.
like show
Where's
some
the
of your
link?
mhm. Yep, like all of the above. Show everything. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
try to think of like what somebody would ask, like not just for the like FAQ highlight, but just in general. Like, oh, where are you located? Like a lot of places in downtown Charleston like don't have designated parking and like some entrances are weird. Like some of them you have to like go through other buildings, like get to the entrance. So it's helpful when they have a highlight that's like, here's how to find us.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's really good to have.
Mhm.
That on there for people
Yeah.
because I'm somebody who will literally Google Maps and like zoom in and like see like okay here's the front door like okay I'll park right here like I'm a psychopath so I'm
Yes.
like if you have an Instagram highlight that shows me
Mhm.
where
How
the
do I
best
get
place to
there?
park is yes and where to actually find you I
Yeah.
will choose your business over a different one.
Mhm. Yeah. It depends on what your business is. Like, one of my
Mhm.
clients is a jewelry business, and she has a ton of different collections. So, like, each
Mm.
collection gets a highlight and has all the
Mhm.
links to, like, each piece. So that
Yep.
way, if, like, people are looking, they can see each collection, but then there's also, like, pop-ups and events, and you can have
Mhm.
one for
Ooh,
that.
that's
Like,
good.
an
Mhm.
event or a pop-up, usually it's, like, just for the month, and then I'll delete it because it's, like, the pop-ups of the
Mhm.
month.
That's what I
So
was gonna
those
say
are
is I feel
good.
like there's some highlights that are, like, permanently there, like, you create them knowing that they're, like, permanently serving a purpose, but
Mhm.
highlights are also great to exactly like you said, like, rotate them out, like, as new events are happening, that's so
Mhm.
smart.
And there's, like, press, like, you could have a whole highlight
Good
if
one.
you're, like, have articles written about you or
Mhm.
anything, like, she had 3 articles written, or, like, somebody features you on their page and you share it to your story, you can put that in as, like, I don't know, different press. But
Mhm.
a lot of these I feel like are events or like collections, bestsellers. You
Mhm.
could have a whole thing. You could have podcasts if you go on podcasts,
Mhm.
just like a bunch of different options, whatever pertains to your business.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, the different collections ones are good, especially again, like this is why it's just so different for everybody. Like it wouldn't make sense for
Mhm.
literally any of my clients that I work with right now to have separate individual highlights for stuff like
Yeah.
that because that's just not what they are. So I
Mhm.
think that's super
Yeah,
smart to
and
think
there's
of.
if you're like a chef or something, you could have a recipe page. Like
Mhm.
even like the clam man, so many people make recipes using their seafood. So I just have a whole highlight of recipes. So then people that come on the page, they're like, I don't know what to make. They can
Mhm.
go through that highlight and be like, wow, well, these people made these different recipes using their
Yeah.
seafood. Maybe I'll get that and make this recipe. So it's like about helping your audience too. Like, what's the best way you
Yes.
can help them? Like, use your product or your service.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of different routes you can take. It's whatever makes sense, like for your business. If any of those make sense, or like you're like, oh, I should add that from
Mhm.
listening to us, add it right in there, you know?
Mhm. And if you're still struggling, DM the podcast page and we'll give you 50 different options.
Literally, we'll help you
We'll
out.
look at your business for 5 seconds and be able to tell you what we think should be on there.
Mhm.
And then once you kind of get past like setting up your profile, you can kind of move on to the first few posts that you'll make on a new account. Or again, like if you're going through a rebrand, like anything like that, I think it's good to kind of plan to have some posts that are pinned to the top, which again, like
Yeah.
just maybe kind of telling your story, you introducing yourself, even if you're not planning to like keep them pinned. I think there's some good ones to start with. So I think one of the most important ones that you can do is introducing yourself and
Mhm.
your business or your service or how your business came to be, kind of telling your story. And it can literally be as simple as a picture of you where you write in the caption. It can be a reel with a voiceover. Like there's so many different options, but I think
Mhm.
definitely having one that introduces you. And then I also think it's important to consistently over time, and I this is very much a do as I say, not as I do situation. Like over time, I think it's important to like routinely introduce yourself, like dedicate posts every once in a while because there are always going to be, new people and find different ways to tell your story. And, again, the different formats, like you could write a caption, you could do the voiceover. There's so many different ways to do it, but I think that's one of the most important ones to have on there.
Yeah. And like I just did a new one with one of my clients, Clam Man, because they didn't do one for 2 years. Like so much
Mhm.
has changed and like we wanted to make a longer video about the story and like do a walkthrough and a tour and you could do so many different ways of introducing you and your business, but keep it
Mhm.
updated for sure because you even like when you're posting to all your followers, it doesn't mean every single one of your followers is going to see it. So a lot of the time I feel like clients will be like, "We already posted about that," or like, "We said that so many times already." And I'm like,
Doesn't matter.
"Yeah, but that's the point. Like we need to keep saying it over and over because
Mhm.
not all these people are seeing your posts every time. It could be brand new to someone
Mhm.
that was following you a year ago and you posted about it and they could just see it now. Like you have
Mhm.
to constantly keep up like that refresh and introducing
Mhm.
yourself in different ways. Like don't copy and paste the
Mhm.
caption or like copy and
No.
paste content, but I mean you could, it's just a lazy way, but like you could do it in you can repurpose in so many different ways.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
introduction.
Mhm. Love that. And then I think it's also important to have, like, especially if you're a service provider, I think it's important to have one that says, how to go about working with you, but then also either included in the same post or a completely separate one that explains your services. So
Mhm.
like for us, like I again, this is a do as I say, not as I do, because I made my first Instagram post today in almost a year. So that was a big,
Yay.
big step for me today.
So she'll see you guys back here in
Yeah.
September of 2025.
Literally the last like physical post that I personally made was on my birthday in October of last year. Ever since then, it's just been me accepting collaborations from the podcast page. I've been posting on TikTok though. I just haven't quite made my way over to Instagram yet. But
Yeah.
um like for us, for example, which I should really be taking my own advice with this and really add in a new introduction post because the amount of people that I've met in the last year that have never seen me introduce myself. But basically you know, I would have one that, or, you know, somebody for our industry could do, you know, here's all of my different services in a slide carousel, just kind of explaining each one on a different slide, and then finish it with, okay, here's how to work with me. Like, go to the link in my bio. You're going to submit an inquiry. Or if you're just asking people to DM you for more information, like, give them a way that they can know how to work with you. But I also think it would be important to have, like, here's what happens when we do work together. Like, we start with the onboarding, and then we will go to this, and then we will go to that. Like, I think explaining to somebody what to expect. And I mean, same with like literally any kind of service. Like, I remember the first time I went to go get filler in my lips, I was like, do I like not eat certain things before? Can I take like Advil before? You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for these things. So I'm like looking at their page, and it's like, here's everything you need to know about getting filler for the first time. And I was like, oh, that's literally exactly what I was looking for. So
Mhm.
I think it's important to also kind of explain, you know, your different services, but then also what to expect if somebody does hire you for that service.
Yeah, I agree. I need to also do that because I don't think I have that. I haven't made one of those in a while. I don't even know what's pinned on my page,
Same,
actually. Oh, hmm.
same.
I have my 3 years as a business owner. I have that pinned. Blueprint. Blueprint.
Blueprint, blueprint.
Yeah, I definitely need to also do a post like that because I haven't in a long time.
Maybe that should
And
be our
then,
challenge to each other.
yeah, in the month of September, we post
A reintro.
a reintro and how to work with us.
I'm literally going to make the first line, I'm only doing this because Veronica told me I had to. Just kidding.
This is on the to-do list and I must check it off or I'll lose my mind. Yeah, no, I definitely need to do
Do some
that.
updating. Yeah,
Mhm,
me too.
for sure.
Hmm.
But, this is about you guys. It's not about
Yeah, this isn't about us. This is about what's best for
for
you.
you and your business. We're just trying to help you out, not us.
Yeah. No, we struggle so you can strive.
That's a good one. Should put that on
Oh,
merch.
thank you.
What
You should do.
else was I oh, there was another one that I feel like is good to be I mean, one that, like, shows your personality and your brand voice, I think is fun too, like a fun one, so people
Hmm.
can just see, like, you and who you are and not just, like, a serious introduction, I guess, but it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be that, it's just, like, you're introducing you and your business. My Siri just went off, that was really weird.
Weird.
Things started just swirling. That was weird.
Who's talking to Siri?
Um,
As we say it 5 times. I'm like, maybe it'll go off again.
I know, but mine's always "Hey Siri." I Oh, yeah. Mhm. See? It usually does that. She just popped up and didn't say anything. But
Oh,
right now
that's
when I
so
said, "Hey
weird.
Siri," she said, "Mhm."
Weird.
It usually says something, and it didn't say anything there. Anyway.
I feel like you always have the weirdest tech. Like, remember when your computer screen was stuck on 444?
Yeah. Hasn't happened since. It's weird.
Siri came in clutch for me yesterday getting those fucking notifications. Oh, now mine's going off.
Oh, mine's going
I've
off too.
had I have had little backstory, completely unrelated. I've had 2 unread text messages, like notifications on my text messages for almost 4 months. And I just accepted that that was my life now. I accepted that no matter what I did, I was going to have 2 unread text messages. I do not have unread text messages in my text messages. And yesterday I got so annoyed with it that I Googled, why is my phone showing me unread text messages? And basically came across this Reddit thread of somebody saying, ask her to read you your unread texts. So I did. And it pulled these 2 texts that I swear to God I never saw. They were not in my text. Like, I had to go start a new text conversation with these people. And that's when it showed it to me. But like, just in my regular text threads, they were not there. And I said to you, I'm like, I wonder how many other times this has happened. Like, how many texts I just not showed up on my phone. It was so weird. But yeah, shout out to Siri.
Mm.
I'm like whispering it.
Ah.
She just went off again. Anyway,
Yeah.
total side
Yeah.
note, but if you're
Thanks,
also
girl.
struggling with it, yeah, came in clutch
There's a little
yesterday.
hack for you.
Yeah, just a little hack.
Another one I feel like you could have is, like, your availability maybe if you're, like, a service
Ooh,
provider,
yeah.
like, something like that could be, like, a schedule update or, like, if you're taking on new clients, something like that
Mhm.
could be sitting at the top of your page. So people are like, okay, I see how I can work with you. I see you in your
Mhm.
business. And now I can see like what your availability is, or if you're like fully booked, maybe put that on
Mhm.
there
Yep.
just so people know.
Mhm. I think it's important to you to maybe dedicate this might not need to stay like pinned, but I think in the beginning it's important to dedicate a post to maybe some testimonials or some reviews. Like again, even if it's just a carousel post of a couple screenshots of your Google reviews. Cause again, I feel like it sounds so repetitive, like stuff that we just said from the highlights going into your post, but I think it's important to note that like your posts eventually go down your feed and
Mhm.
the odds of somebody scrolling back if that's the only time you've ever posted it, they might not go all the way back to find that. So I think that's another one that's important to kind of keep refreshing on your feed, but also important in the beginning. And I know there's obviously, businesses who start like literally from scratch and don't even have like reviews or testimonials yet. But like for social media managers, I think maybe showing some like portfolio projects or like before and afters of stuff that you've done, like showcasing your work, I think is an important one to have on there. So if you don't have like full reviews to show some of your work, but definitely prioritize kind of gathering those reviews
Mhm.
so that you do have some content to work with.
Agree.
Um, yeah. What else on your post? I think those are like the most important ones to prioritize, but then also to like pin to the top of your profile.
Mhm. Yeah. And even if you
Mhm.
don't have like say you don't have a testimonial or a review, but you know like somebody's results, like walk
Mhm.
people through the process of that. Like
Mhm.
this is where the client started. This is what we did and this is their result. Like it's you don't need to have somebody like writing something or like a
Mhm.
Google review if it's great, but like if you don't have that, just
Mhm.
showcase it of what you guys did or even like give the scenario of what you could do. Like you could also do that if you don't have anyone that you've worked with before. Like you could be like, this is where you're at. This is where we what we could do and this would be your result. Just to have
Mhm.
people like envision themselves in that position or like using your service or your product. So that's
Mhm.
another way to do it if you don't have any testimonials or reviews.
Yes. Love that. Yeah, lots of ways to kind of showcase you and your service, but I think those are some of the most important first few posts that you can do. And then something else that is important in the beginning is to just know what analytics to pay attention to. And I don't think we need to go like full in depth because again, that past episode that we've done talking about this, we went like full in depth, like what each of the analytics were and like which ones we think are the most to pay attention to or most important to pay attention to.
Mhm.
But I also think it's really important, like if you're starting an account from scratch, like obviously set your hopes high, but understand that you're a brand new page. So like if your post gets 5 likes, like you can't really gauge anything from those analytics and you can't really look just yet like with those first few posts. So I think maybe more important than like specific analytics that you can find on Instagram, maybe look at how many people are starting conversations with you? How many conversations have you started? How many people have, I mean, this technically is an analytic, but like how many people have clicked to the link in your bio? How many people have, again, I don't think likes, comments, saves, and shares are the most important on your content when you first start a page because it's more so about, again, building that foundation rather than I think making the goal for as many people as possible to see this post that don't already follow me because chances are you're going to be starting with maybe not a huge existing audience,
Mhm.
but I think you'll always be starting with at least a few people who are familiar with you or maybe know that you're starting this business. And it's more important to have those posts on there that people will find beneficial rather than going right into like, okay, how do I make the most viral content? Okay, how do I get
Right.
the most saves and shares and blah, blah, blah. So
Mhm.
I think there are some analytics that are important in the beginning, but I also think there are non Instagram analytics that are more important,
Agree.
just kind of
Like
knowing you're getting the foundation down.
yeah, like how the conversations I feel like is the most important and like if people are actually clicking into your bio or like the links that you have or like in your highlights, like what are people gravitating the most to? But it's going to take some time for you to be able to like analyze them because
Mhm.
if you're a brand new account, there's not much to compare it to unless you're just like rebranding and you're starting, then you will be able to compare.
Mhm.
what like past months were like.
Mhm.
But if it's like a brand new account, you'll just need to wait it out and then tweak your strategy. That's a whole other thing, creating a social media strategy for yourself. Whole
Mhm.
other topic
Yeah,
that we
that's a
also
whole can of worms.
went through a little bit in a different episode.
Mhm. And I think both of those episodes are back from January.
Mhm.
So if that is something you wanna go back and listen to, because yeah, we talk way more about, like, the, like, technical sides of Instagram. This was more so for starting an account from scratch and, like, what we think is the most important things to get on there and what to keep pinned on there, what to show your audience that you're currently building. But yeah, those 2 episodes, I believe, are from either December or January of this past year, and I can double check and link them in the
Mhm.
description. But if you're a social media manager, this entire topic of starting an account from scratch is something that we cover in the Social Media Manager Business Blueprint. And again, that's just really the only like industry that we can speak on for sure, because it's obviously the industry that we're in. Like, I would never tell, a restaurant, like, these are for sure the way, this is definitely how you need to set up your profile. I mean, obviously if I was working with them, but if you're a social media manager and you found some value in this, it is a smidge of what we include in the blueprint. This was not at all to sell you on the blueprint. We just wanted to put it out there that we do help you set up your profile as a social media manager inside the blueprint, because it can be a lot. It's definitely not a small task to just one day decide you're starting an Instagram account. So
Mhm.
definitely something that we cover in there.
Yep, lots of steps,
Mm-hmm.
lots of research
Mm-hmm.
to be
Yep.
successful.
Mm-hmm. What a
Anything
slay.
else we need to add? I feel like I think we covered a good chunk of everything that
Mm-hmm.
you need, or
Yeah.
everything actually that you need to start your page.
I was gonna say, I don't think I could come up with another thing to add to this list right
Yeah.
now if I had to. So I think that was pretty much everything.
Oh, you could maybe try to follow some people like that you're
Yeah.
looking to work with, or that could potentially be your customers or people that are in your same industry, and supporting them and like
Mm-hmm.
building your community. So that's maybe
Mm-hmm.
another step to building your accounts, is finding accounts to follow and interact with and build up your page and
Mm-hmm.
support.
And I actually think in one of those episodes, we talk about that, because we talk about building a
Mhm.
strategy and we talk about an engagement strategy in there. I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
If we don't, somebody let us know and we will do a separate episode on that. But I think we do talk a lot about that in those episodes too.
Genuine, let's just say that.
Yes. Yes. Do not just go to your competitor's profile and look at their latest post and follow everybody that liked their last reel. That's
Mhm.
chaotic. But yeah, this was basically just everything that happens before you even start getting into your actual content strategy or an engagement strategy or anything. But that's a good thing to start with, at least, is to get, some connections with people in your industry. Cause it's important to not look at those people as competitors, and to look at them as, people that are doing the same thing in your industry that you might be able to learn from, or you guys can
Mhm.
relate to a lot of things. Like, if you and I saw each other as competitors, we would
Yeah,
have never sent the first DM. You know what I mean? So
I
it's
know.
important to not look at it as,
Mhm.
oh, I'm following these people to steal their clients. Like, no, you're
Yeah.
following them because you guys can relate on something. You obviously are in the same industry. So I think that's always important to start with too. So good
Mhm.
call.
Agree.
And with that,
That's a wrap.
that's a wrap, baby. Let us know what you think. Let us know if we forgot anything.
Yeah, we'll chat with you next week. And
Mhm.
thanks for tuning into this episode. We hope to see you creating some accounts or maybe tweaking your accounts. Let us know
Mhm.
if any of this was helpful for you or for your new account. We'll
Mhm.
see you next week.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for hanging. If you aren't sick of us yet, jump over to the Socially Unfiltered Pod Instagram.
Check out the Social Media Manager Blueprint,
And everything else you'll need can be found in the show notes.
and we'll see you next Monday.